I still can't believe we've already been here for almost a semester. It feels like we arrived only a few weeks ago, but at the same time, I already feel completely comfortable living in Mexico City. It's funny how quickly a new place can start feeling like home.
I know exactly what you mean. When I first arrived, every street felt new and exciting because I wanted to look at absolutely everything. Now I still notice new details every day, but instead of feeling like a tourist, I feel like I'm slowly becoming part of the rhythm of the city.
I think studying art makes that happen even faster. Most people walk from one place to another without thinking too much about what's around them. But we stop every few minutes because we notice a building, a mural, an interesting color combination, or even the shadows from the trees.
That's true, and I think we've probably become the slowest walkers in the city. Every time we go somewhere, what should be a 15-minute walk somehow becomes 45 minutes. Because one of us says, wait, I need to take a picture of that wall.
Or, wait, look at the way the sunlight is hitting those windows.
Exactly. Then, 5 minutes later, someone notices a beautiful doorway or an interesting balcony, and suddenly we're both taking reference photos like we're documenting history.
I've actually started organizing my phone into albums. I have one folder called Doors, another called Textures, another called Interesting Shadows, and one that's simply called Things I Might Paint Someday.
Phone probably thinks you are a professional door researcher. If someone checked your gallery, they would probably ask why you have 40 pictures of the same building.
Because every picture captures a different feeling. The light changes, the shadows change, and sometimes a building looks completely different in the morning compared with the afternoon.
I understand that. I understand that. I have many pictures of streets where nothing special is happening, but the combination of colors and atmosphere makes them look like a painting.
One thing that surprised me the most about Mexico City is the incredible use of color. Even simple places have interesting combinations of colors that make them feel wallers, that make them feel artistic and full of personality.
Yes, and I like that the colors don't just come from painted walls. They come from everything around us. The trees, the buildings, the traditional designs, the street decorations, and even the way sunlight touches different surfaces.
That is why I always carry my sketchbook now. Before coming here, I thought I would only use it during class. But now I feel like inspiration appears everywhere.
I had the same experience. I went outside one day just to buy coffee, and I ended up sitting in a park for 2 hours drawing people, trees, and buildings.
Did you finish your coffee?
Eventually. First, I had to finish a drawing of a dog.
A dog?
Yes. It was sitting like it was posing for an official portrait. I couldn't ignore such a professional model.
That dog probably had no idea it was helping an art student with homework.
Maybe it did.
Maybe that dog has a secret career.
Maybe it did. Maybe that dog has a secret career as an art teacher.
I really enjoy learning about Mexican art history. Before coming here, I knew some famous artists, but studying their work here feels completely different. Because you can see the culture.
Exactly.
Reading about Mexican artists in a book is interesting, but standing in front of the connection between the art and the culture.
Exactly. Reading about Mexican artists in a book is interesting, but standing in front of their work creates a completely different experience. You understand the size, the details, and the emotions much better.
I remember the first time I saw a large mural. I expected it to be impressive, but I didn't expect it to feel like entering another world.
That is the perfect description. A mural is not just a picture on a wall. It tells a story. And when you look at it carefully, you discover something new every few minutes.
I love how many different people and ideas can exist on Puan 1. Outwork just inside artwork. You can see history, everyday life, traditions, and imagination all together.
That is one reason why Mexican muralism is so fascinating. It shows that art can communicate with everyone, not only people who visit galleries or study art.
I think that idea is very inspiring for us as designers. Art doesn't always need to be separated from daily life. It can be part of the environment around us.
Yes, and Mexico City is a perfect example of that.
I have also become interested in Mexican design. Before moving here, I focused mostly on illustration, but now I pay much more attention to architecture, typography, patterns, and traditional crafts.
Same here. I think Mexican design has a beautiful relationship between history and modern creativity. Old traditions continue to inspire new ideas.
That's what I find fascinating. You can see influences from that, can see influences from the past. That's what I find fascinating. You can see influences from the past, while also seeing artists creating something completely new.
It feels like the city is having a conversation between different generations of artists. Buildings, paintings, and designs from different periods all exist together.
That is probably why walking around Mexico City feels like walking through a living design book.
I like that description. I like that description. The best part is that the book keeps changing. Because there is always something new to discover.
Speaking of discovering new places, I really love visiting Condesa. It has become one of my favorite areas in the city.
I agree. Condesa feels like a place where creativity naturally happens. The streets, the trees, the cafes, and the architecture create such an inspiring atmosphere.
I especially love the tree-lined streets. Walking there feels calm, and the shadows from the trees create beautiful patterns on the ground.
I always end up taking pictures of those shadows. Sometimes I think people would laugh. Sometimes I think people would laugh if they saw how excited I get about a shadow on the sidewalk.
Not anymore. After studying art, I understand. I understand the Tierreizer. Why those details matter. Small things can create a strong feeling.
Exactly. Exactly. Sometimes the smallest details are the ones that inspire the biggest ideas.
I also love the cafes in Condesa. They feel like perfect places for artists because you can sit, observe, draw, write, or simply enjoy the atmosphere.
I have a problem with those cafes, though.
What problem?
I always tell myself I will only stay for 20 minutes, but somehow 3 hours disappear.
That happens to me too. I think the chairs secretly have a magical power that makes artists stay longer.
The chairs are part of the design strategy. First, they give you coffee, then they trap you with inspiration.
That sounds like a very successful artistic business plan.
I was thinking about our...
Chairs secretly have a magical power that makes artists stay longer.
I was thinking about our first week here the other day. Do you remember how excited we were to visit every museum we could find? We actually made a list and thought we could finish it in one weekend.
I remember that very well. Looking back, I can't believe we thought that was possible. Because every museum deserves an entire day by itself. Every time we visited one, we stayed much longer than we planned. Because there was always another room we wanted to explore.
I think we underestimated how much amazing art there is in this city. We kept saying, let's just have a quick look. And then 3 hours would pass without us even noticing.
The funny part is that we never got tired. Usually after spending hours inside a museum, I would feel exhausted. But here, I always leave feeling inspired and full of new ideas.
I've started carrying a notebook instead of only taking pictures. Whenever I see something interesting, I write down why I like it, instead of simply photographing it. I think that helps me remember the feeling, instead of only remembering the image.
That's actually a great idea. Sometimes I take so many pictures that later I can't remember what made a particular building or painting special. Writing down a few thoughts would probably help me understand my own inspiration better.
I have one page that simply says, "Interesting shadows on a yellow wall." When I read it now, I immediately remember exactly where I was standing and how the sunlight looked that afternoon.
I like that. It's almost like creating a visual diary. I like that. It's almost like creating a visual diary, without needing to write an entire story every time.
Have you noticed that our professors encourage us to spend time outside the classroom? I really like that approach because they remind us that inspiration doesn't only come from books.
Yes. And I think they're absolutely right. The city itself feels like another classroom, because every neighborhood has something different to teach us about design, architecture, color, or composition.
I've started paying attention to signs and lettering more than ever before. Some of the shop signs have beautiful typography, and I never realized how much personality different fonts can have.
Now you're speaking like a true design student. A few months ago, you would have walked past a sign without thinking twice. But now you'll stop in the middle of the sidewalk just to admire a well-designed letter.
I know. I never imagined that one day I would become emotionally attached to a perfectly painted letter A.
Welcome to art school. Next month, you'll probably have a favorite comma.
I already do.
You answered that much too quickly.
One thing I admire about Mexican artists is how confidently they use color. They don't seem afraid of combining bold colors in ways that still feel balanced and harmonious.
I've noticed that too. Before coming here, I often chose safe color combinations because I didn't want to make mistakes. Now I feel much more confident experimenting because I've seen how expressive color can be.
I opened one of my old sketchbooks last week. Compared to what I'm drawing now, everything looked so careful and quiet.
Mine looked almost shy. Now I find myself reaching for brighter pencils, without even thinking about it.
So Mexico City has changed our color palette.
And probably our personalities a little bit too.
Have you spent much time walking around Condesa recently? Every visit seems a little different, even though I take almost the same route every time.
Yes, I was there a few days ago. I wasn't really going anywhere in particular, so I just walked through the streets, looked at the architecture, and stopped whenever something caught my attention.
I love that there are so many beautiful apartment buildings there. Some have wonderful balconies with interesting shapes, and others have little decorative details that make each building feel unique.
I've become slightly obsessed with balconies. I never thought I would say that sentence, but now I honestly enjoy sketching them because each one has its own personality.
I think that's completely normal for architecture students.
We're not architecture students.
Close enough. We appreciate buildings with the same level of excitement.
That's true. Some people collect postcards, and we collect reference photos of balconies.
I also enjoy sitting in the parks around Condesa with my sketchbook. There's always something interesting happening, whether it's people reading, friends talking, or someone walking a furley. A very confident-looking dog.
I think every neighborhood has at least one dog that behaves like it owns the entire park. They walk around with so much confidence. That everyone else seems like a guest.
I saw one wearing a tiny blue bandana last weekend. It looked so proud that I almost wanted to ask if it was the mayor of the park.
It probably was. Maybe all important park decisions are made by very stylish dogs.
I probably was. That would explain why everyone seems so happy.
I've also started appreciating architecture much more since arriving here. Before, I mostly paid attention to paintings, but now I find myself studying buildings almost as carefully as works of art.
I completely understand. Architecture combines so many different creative ideas. Proportion, texture, color, light, and history, all in one place. It's like walking through a giant outdoor gallery.
Sometimes I wonder how many stories each building has witnessed over the years. Every old building feels like it has quietly watched generations of artists, students, and families pass by.
That's a beautiful thought. It also reminds me that we're becoming a tiny part of that history simply by living and studying here. Do you remember our first assignment?
How could I forget? We both thought we had amazing ideas until the professor asked us one simple question, and suddenly we realized we had a lot more thinking to do.
Why did you choose this composition? Why did you choose this composition?
Exactly. I had an answer in my head, but when I tried to explain it, I realized I needed to think much more deeply about my own decisions.
I actually appreciate that now. It's helping me become more intentional, instead of making design choices just because they look nice.
I agree. Good design isn't only about making something beautiful. It's also about understanding why every choice has been made.
Have you noticed that studying art has changed the way we look at ordinary objects?
Definitely. Yesterday, I spent almost 5 minutes looking at a simple coffee cup because I liked its shape and the way the light reflected on it.
5 minutes? 5 minutes? That's impressive.
Then I realized I was supposed to be drinking the coffee instead of analyzing the cup.
Have you noticed? Did the coffee survive?
Just barely. By the time I remembered it, it had become an iced coffee without asking my permission.
I've done something similar. I once became so interested in sketching my sandwich that I almost forgot to eat lunch.
You sketched a sandwich?
It had excellent composition.
Was it a very artistic sandwich?
It was balanced, colorful, and surprisingly photogenic.
I can't believe we're having a serious conversation about the design qualities of a sandwich.
We're art students. We can make almost anything into a design discussion.
I think that's one of my favorite things about studying with creative people. Everyone notices different details, and you end up seeing the world through someone else's perspective.
Exactly. Sometimes, you'll point out something I completely missed, and suddenly I can't stop looking at it. It's like borrowing another person's eyes for a few minutes.
And that's probably why conversations like this are so useful. We aren't just studying from books, we're learning from each other's observations as well.
I couldn't agree more. Every discussion gives me a new idea for a drawing, a painting, or even a future design project.